What's up, y'all? Jake here, and I have caught President Trump lying again. And this isn't just any ordinary lie. This one is freaking hilarious. That's right. I got a funny video for you today. So without further ado, let's get this party started.
The concert that you were going to do, all those musicians have fallen.
Yeah.
They're cowards.
People like, no, it's not that. They get some free publicity. Look, they're not really cowards, but I never even heard of these people.
Right.
I never heard of any of them.
But I never even heard of these people.
Right.
I never heard of any of them.
All right, so if we look at the featured performers who were supposed to perform at the 250th birthday celebration of America, you'll see names that are instantly recognizable. And even if you don't know these artists' songs off the top of your head, the names, I would argue, are still recognizable. So I find it laughable that Trump is claiming to have never heard of any of these artists, like Martina McBride. Like, I don't really know any of her songs off the top of my head, but I have heard of her. I know that she's a country singer. One of the most instantly recognizable names on this list, Vanilla Ice. So I would argue it's next to impossible to not know who Vanilla Ice is. Like, if you were alive in the 90s, it's literally impossible not to have heard Ice Ice Baby at some point in your life. Also scheduled to perform the Commodores. So I actually know that the Commodores are an old funk and soul group that were around even before I was born. And I used to be in a cover band, and we used to perform the song Brick House by the Commodores. So even I've heard of the Commodores, even though it was a group that was around before I was born. So I would argue that Trump claiming he's never heard of the Commodores is absolutely ludicrous. Being as I live in America, I have heard of all of these artists, even if I can't name their music. Also on this list, and this is the funniest one of them all, the fact that Bret Michaels is on this list and Trump is claiming he's never heard of any of these characters. This is what makes this so hilarious. Trump's like, I've never heard of any of these people. I quite frankly, I don't know who any of them are. They were scheduled to perform, but they want to cancel, they can go ahead and cancel. I've never heard of any of these people before. Meanwhile, there's evidence that shows the contrary, that Trump has indeed, for sure, at least heard of Bret Michaels. So possibly Trump hasn't heard of some of these artists. I would be willing to buy that Trump, he's such a busy character on the world stage that perhaps some of these artists he has legitimately never heard of. But one of these artists in particular, Bret Michaels, I'm absolutely positive Trump has heard of Bret Michaels. And I'm going to show you some evidence which proves that Trump is straight up lying when he claims he's never heard of any of these artists before. So before Trump was ever president of the United States, he was on this reality TV show called The Apprentice, and it just so happens Bret Michaels was a contestant on the show The Apprentice.
Now, does that make you feel even stronger about fighting for your charity, or do you think you'd like to leave?
You know that I do not want to leave here, but for my charity, I would fight to the end, and especially now. However, if she was really sick, I would never say I want to leave, but I would leave to take care of my daughter.
What do you make of this?
Well, first of all, he's a great guy. I didn't know what to make of him at first. He was on. I know of him. I never met him before, but I didn't give him a lot of chance, and he has outworked everybody. He has been so good, so strong. And, like I was saying before, he was popular. Everybody loved Bret. Every castmate. There's not one. Goldberg, this tough wrestler, he loved Bret. They all liked him. And that this would happen. And he actually looked like he was in really good shape. In fact, I got to see, it's never been my thing in life, as you can understand, but I saw him without a shirt, and he looked good.
He could have said, I've never heard of any of these artists. Never heard of any of them in my life. Well, except for Bret Michaels, because he was on my show, The Apprentice. right? So apparently, President Trump forgot all about that time that Bret Michaels was on his television show. I know it happened a long time ago, but still, you would expect Trump to remember that he said and did these things. So the funniest part to me about Bret Michaels being on the show Celebrity Apprentice, he wasn't just on the show, he won the show. He won the entire show, you guys. So you can look this up. Bret Michaels won the Celebrity Apprentice back in 2010. After suffering a brain hemorrhage and a warning stroke, Bret Michaels overcame his health woes to win Donald Trump's Celebrity Apprentice. But apparently, Donald has never heard of any of these artists, including Bret Michaels.
You know when he came in.
Let me say this.
Sure.
Brandy came in here. She got down on her knees and said, "I passionately want to do this. I, at this point, am the team chooser, not the team leader
Excuse
yet."
me. You dropped to your knees.
Yes.
And begged to do this. And I said, I'm looking around the room, and we had even Latoya, who sitting beside me, thought maybe Brandy
Must
was
be a
right.
pretty picture you
Little
dropped into
John
your
and
knees.
Dennis thought I should be. Omarosa said me. Some other people said you. And in the end of it, I said,
And in another interview with Larry King, he said he looked at Bret Michaels without his shirt on and he thought he looked good. I would argue that this is pretty conclusive evidence that Trump has indeed heard of Bret Michaels, and I think he likes Bret Michaels. Oh, yeah. I think he likes Bret Michaels a lot. I think he really, really likes Bret Michaels, if you catch my drift. All right, so now let's circle back to the Trump interview that we started with. He's going to claim again that he's never heard of any of these performers. So he doesn't just claim it once, so it's not an accident. He claims it again.
They're boring. I don't even want them. And when I heard a couple of them canceled out, I said, cancel the whole thing. I don't want to. We're going to do a rally.
Yeah.
And a rally, nobody's ever gotten crowds like I get at a rally. I had 118,000 people at one. I have 25,000. 25,000 is like a small crowd. Okay?
And your music's great.
And the only reason I only have 25 is because we have the basketball arenas. And
Right.
All right, so Trump is claiming he doesn't need the artists. And he said once they started canceling, he said, go ahead and just cancel the whole concert. He's just going to turn it into a big old Trump rally. And he's confident he can get just as big of crowds or even bigger without any of these artists. So not only is he claiming he's never heard of these artists, he's claiming he can draw bigger crowds by himself, with this being just a big old Trump rally rather than a concert. You got to love this guy's confidence.
so we're going to have a rally. I don't want the music. I don't even know who they are. I don't know their music. I don't want to know their music.
All right, so I noticed that the new version of Trump speaks in sentence fragments, and oftentimes in the middle of a word, he'll cut off. In the middle of a sentence, he'll cut off. And so old videos of Trump, you can see him speaking clearly, finishing his words, finishing his sentences. But these newer versions of Trump, the newer videos that we see of Trump nowadays in 2026, oftentimes you see him speaking in these cut off sentence fragments. So here's an example right here.
I don't want the music. I don't even know who they are. I don't
want the, I don't even know who they are. I don't want the, I don't know who they even are.
know. We're going to have a rally. I don't want the music. I don't even know who they are. I don't.
See, so now he doesn't even pronounce his words in full. And so it sounds to me sometimes like I'm looking and listening to an AI version of Trump. So I've said it before, and I'm going to say it again. They've wheeled out an AI version of Trump. I don't believe for a second that they're using the same guy over and over again to deliver these speeches and do all these appearances for the public. So I believe they are using AI versions of Donald Trump. And I believe these examples of him speaking in sentence fragments and not finishing his sentences, not pronouncing his words fully, I believe these are examples of artificially intelligent, fake Donald Trump, straight up.
But we're going to do a rally, a great, beautiful rally to 250 years, and it's going to be great. And I think we'll get much bigger crowds. I mean, I'm not.
So now that all the artists have canceled, he's just going to turn it into a big rally, and he's confident that he's going to get even bigger crowds without any of those artists whom he's never heard of, including Bret Michaels. But, you know, if you say anything bad about Orange Jab Daddy, even if you prove beyond a shadow of a doubt that he's fucking lying, the people who voted for this man, the hardcore MAGAs, these Trump supporters, they'll make up some sort of excuse, right? So apparently Trump is turning the whole thing into a big rally. And as far as the UFC event is concerned, well, according to Google, the UFC Freedom 250 fight card is still supposedly going to happen on June 14th at the South Lawn of the White House. So this will be the first time they've ever had UFC fights at the White House. So if you guys enjoyed this video, and if you're still here watching right now, please do me a favor and hit the like button. It definitely does help. And make sure you are subscribed with the bell notifications turned on so you don't miss any of my uploads or live streams. And I will see all of you in the next video or the next live stream. Peace.